Ta-da!
Uh,
And welcome everyone to Astrology and Alchemy. I hope that you are having a wonderful first start to April. Holy moly, guacamole! Is the solar eclipse getting all kinds of news stuff moving? I don't know how it is in your world, but if you guys are joining us tonight, hopefully we get through the week quick enough. We can maybe do some readings. How are you doing, Matt? How's the week been
yeah,
treating you?
doing good. I didn't go back and look and see what we said for the day the bridge got hit. Go back and check. I don't know.
Catastrophe and issues and all the things. And we'd even kind of mentioned not the big T word, but um, issues with issues with things in the news not being necessarily what we thought that they would be, like there being um, all kinds of interesting stuff. I can't even. It's always scary what we talk about on the show. I've got my drink. I'm ready for the week ahead because I've looked ahead at April. So, for those of you guys joining us, if it's for your very first time, Astrology and Alchemy, we do this and we do the 7 day stretch. So, the 7 day stretch allows us to kind of see what's going on, what to prepare for, and to just take it 7 days at a time because really that's all you need to do. I mean, it can be wild. Um, yeah, welcome to Astrology and Alchemy with Matt and Sarah. What do you predict for the week ahead? Because I know you don't look ahead.
Yeah, I don't look ahead, but I'm expecting there'll be weird, wacky stuff because of the eclipse.
I'm going to do my
I'm
best.
thinking
Usually
there's
I
going
have
to
it
be some.
pre-written down, but
So I'm guessing that would mean we're going to get a moon sun conjunct. I'm guessing. Yeah, that would be right. That's always a new. That's always with the new moon, but it'll be interesting because they'll be like really overlap. So that'll be an interesting thing.
well, we shared last week, Tuesday, because we go Tuesday to Tuesday, that Mercury was semi-sextile Venus, Sun semi-sextile Saturn, but nothing major happening today. But tomorrow, the moon enters Aquarius. And so that's the very first thing that happens. I'm going to do my best to take note for everybody that Wednesday, the moon moves into Aquarius. When you even feel like Aquarius energy, that's already what Pluto has moved into, some of the other major planets moving into, throwing emotion into the wind. Moon, add a little emotion, more emotion into it. How's that possible? The moon moving into Aquarius. Any kind of small feelings with that, Matt?
Well, it's Aquarius. It's change oriented. It's thinking outside the box. It's innovative. So I do feel it's an air sign, even though everybody thinks it's a water sign because it's the water bear. So yeah, I think it's a very intellect. So it's an emotional. The moon's an emotional. It's not a planet, but planet. Um, but it's in a not a very emotional space, but it's a very change oriented space. So I just feel like it's a move towards changing things up, thinking outside the box.
Thinking outside the box, feeling a little bit of that pull. And then Ruth, those of us, Callie, John, so many people joining us from all little places. One other thing happens tomorrow evening, and I would say this is a little bit more, and I'm going to put a longer description in there than I usually do in the chat room. But the bigger thing to the moon and Aquarius is that Venus, planet, I think V for vagina, I think feminine energy, I think art and money, Venus conjunct Neptune, April 1st to the 5th. And that this is kind of a big move for our Venus shift. Neptune and Pisces. So how do you feel about these being conjunct?
Well, usually I would say, Venus with the romance in Pisces would be, more self-sacrificing for a relationship. But since it's conjunct with Neptune, which is always kind of dreamy and deceptive and not seeing things as they are, seeing things as how you want them to be, I feel this is a very much of an energy of maybe making concessions or doing things in a relationship based on bad info. So, I'll do this
Mm,
for my interest or partner, and your rationale behind it's going to be flawed. So, yeah,
oh no. I think the
this is
Mercury
bad.
retrograde.
I would say in general, this is bad romantic energy.
Mm, 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 mm. Okay, bad romantic energy. And we know that it's Mercury retrograde right now, but let's go ahead and throw fuel to the fire. And I know that we said we'd kind of move quickly because there's not a whole lot happening anymore on Friday. So then it moves us to Thursday, April 4th. And like you said, we're inching closer and closer
These two things
to
were
this
tomorrow, right?
for Wednesday, correct. The
Wednesday.
moon
Okay.
enters Aquarius and Venus conjunct Neptune. And those are
Okay.
really the only two things to worry about. And then Thursday, because Venus, I know a lot of people look like Mary joining us in the chat room. This might be something that, okay, Venus, people reach out for romance and money. I would say those are the two leading things that people ask about when getting psychic readings, astrology readings, birth chart readings: money, career, romance. Boom. Thursday, right in the afternoon, depending on where you're at. I have it saved for me at 11:59 in the morning. So right before lunchtime. Venus, that planet, money and art and feminine stuff, right there with Neptune and Pisces, fantasy and delusion. Venus moves into Aries, into the fire sign.
Just interesting. I don't know why, but the way you worded that made me think of there's a another channel I watch, which is a former investigator that breaks down crimes,
Ooh.
murders, so either unsolved or some of them have gotten solved now. Really interesting guy. I can't think of his name at the top of my head. I'll try to remember it, but he always says, "Oh, this is for crime things." He's like, there's always three motive. It's always going to be one of three motivations: sex, money, or revenge. And so what you just said with Venus hits two out of those three. So, yeah. So be careful with those Venus
Fires.
attacks.
Um,
And this is bad.
yes.
I think that, that being said, this is a Venus going into Aries, which is very action oriented, but actions that are not well thought out, I guess. Yeah, there might be there's probably gonna be some crimes committed on Thursday.
High crime. It's a high crime
Crimes of
time.
passion.
Ooh, crimes of passion. And then I think of, if you've had any romantic quarrels lately, I like that word, quarrels, domestic disputes, if you've had issues in the past, exes, violence, sexual assault, if you've had issues in the past, truths uncovered, guys, as we inch closer and closer into Aquarius, closer and closer, man, we're seeing it with P. Diddy, all these poor people, they're just getting uh, raked under the coals, and they sure will, because more and more is going to come out. More and more is uncovered. Venus moving into Aries, I would say that that's probably going to even be like past lovers or exes or people coming out of the woodwork, passions, all those words that you used, Matt.
Yeah, so
That's
since that
starting to
popped into my head, I'm thinking since we like to try to do predictions here, I'm thinking Thursday a case is gonna break, like the Idaho thing, or not that this was a crime of pat, but just think of like these high
Pine Creek,
profile,
Middleton,
the
Denton.
OJ, the old. I'm going way back with the OJ thing, or like just think of these like high profile like crimes, murders that
Mm,
grab media attention. I think there's going to be one of those on Thursday.
yeah. And the chat is full of so much fun stuff around this, just kind of buzzing. Don't look back. You're not going that way. Venus is going to be really
True.
aflame on Thursday. And that's a Thursday afternoon as it gears up for Friday, with all of these states across the United States going into emergency because they're expecting hundreds of thousands of people to maybe flock to their area if they're in the direct path of the solar eclipse to have totality. And so these small towns that don't have the highway, they don't have the gas, they don't have the space, the parking, the food, the water, um, first response and emergency alerts out there and we're going into Friday. It'll be Friday, April 5th. Only one thing is happening. So I'm going to put this here in the chat room for those looking and joining us live there first. And it's early in the morning. Man, I don't know why it's double pasting, but I guess it just is. So Friday AM, and that is just a subtle moon movement. And that's that the moon enters into Pisces. So moving from Aquarius, age of Aquarius, into emotions being a little bit more emotional. Can we even get more watery and cry at the drop of a hat?
Lots of Pisces, early part of this week.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say the tides have changed. I don't see any predictions worldwide, but I can almost see that Friday emotions and movement and fluidity.
And the thing I'll say is, it's mutable. So it's a mutable sign, mutable water. So that's the most changeable, kind of flexible. So I still really go to this. This isn't. It's a water sign, so it's emotional, but this doesn't have the weight of emotions that I would say like a Cancer or a Scorpio would have. This is more. Again, it's that. I always call it like deathbed perspective, but it's that more sacrificial, more resigned to the facts and things along those lines. So, yeah, moon being your internal emotional state. These are a lot of signs going towards kind of taking one for the team and just, greater good. And I think romanticism a lot with Pisces. I think of like, I get it backwards. Romeo and Juliet, the one that, they
Ooh, there's like
killed themselves because the other one killed himself. Like it's that kind of thing. It's something that on the surface looks kind of silly, like a silly thing to do, but they'll go ahead and do it for. I did it for love.
I did it for love. I can't think of what song that would be for our playlist, but I do think of wishy-washy things for Pisces. And knowing that this is on a Friday, that this is on the first Friday of April, it's post Easter, people feel all weird about the timing, and that it's gearing up for a time that, man, we've got NASA firing rockets, we've got possible satellite outages, we've got this wild, cool tourist thing happening, across the northern hemisphere and elsewhere, and just how are we going to adjust going into the weekend? And it looks like people are going to feel a little emotional, a little emotionally on edge, and a little maybe even romanticizing things.
You said music. I can't even think of a good example. I'm just going to describe it. Just think of like like over the top and like cheesy. I'm not calling Pisces in general cheesy, but I'm like that this energy this week of all these kind of things that it's just like particularly for a less emotional sign or less emotional person, they'd be like, oh my God, that is like so like over the top and just that's kind of not any one of these on its own, but the fact that we're having so many Pisces things the end of the week, that's what I'm seeing. It's just this like way overreacting, over emotional drama.
I think of Grease whenever someone says, "Oh my God, that's over the top." I think I got chills, they're multiplying. Just like the guys hopping around in the cars in the beginning of that movie, and it's like, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?" So
I
it
don't know
takes
why
me
I
to
don't. I don't
Grease.
want to criticize this person. I don't know why it like popped into my head from this, but I'm thinking like Celine Dion. I don't know. I'm just that's just what's coming to mind here.
Yeah, we'll just leave that one alone too. Especially, man, all of the news stuff with all of the child sex trafficking, that's going to be the next one too. So a Mary and people in the chat room asking, totally unrelated to astrology, but do you know about state hospitals in Moose Lake? I know that there are state hospitals that are currently in Moose Lake, especially that are in extensions of the correctional facility, but I don't know any like haunted paranormal hospitals other than Nope Ming and kind of the northern parts of Minnesota that I would love to go to, Matt. But I know that the Trans Allegheny is next on our list as far as paranormally things. And
Yes, we got
then,
to do that.
yeah. and then state hospitals. There was actually one here in Brainerd, not too far from where I'm at, and I have one of their jars from the nurses station that has my cotton swabs in my bathroom that I took from the state mental health hospital here in the. Anyway, back to astrology. Saturday, everybody, if you join us weekly and you use this to predict things and you are writing down, hey, this is going to happen, this is what I think this means. Saturday, it's another Venus movement, but this is sextile with Pluto. You guys, Pluto, anything Pluto, Matt always tells us, that's a big thing. That's a life thing. And so now we've got Venus in Aries, sextile Pluto in Aquarius.
This is Saturday.
Saturday. Saturday in the morning. It's at, well, no, in the afternoon, 1:45 p.m.
When I see this in Pluto, since Pluto's so big and broad, and I think outside of relate. So this could be for an individual. This could be very, very profound relationship stuff, like and Venus in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius. That is change, change, change. So significant relationships starting, significant relationships changing, significant relationships ending. Look for a lot of that on Saturday, but that's going to be individual. You're not necessarily going to see that, but this combo of Venus and Pluto, Venus also means money and financial things. That's why it's weird that it's on a day, it's on a Saturday when markets everywhere are going to be closed. I'd look for something significant economic news to break early Saturday morning, at least early Saturday morning here in the U.S. Not sure what that's going to be. Could be, some type of attack on some type of resource, that could cause, just think about even the bridge, it's going to affect commerce because the port's blocked right there. Think of it very similar to, it's not as big of a deal as the Suez Canal, but think of like last year where that ship got stuck, in the Suez Canal and caused all kinds of problems. I'm thinking something along those lines. So both very big, very profound relationship moves. So, think of in your own personal life, you're gonna know somebody more than likely that either meets the love of their life or announces they're getting married or getting divorced. It's that kind of vibe on Saturday. But then I also think there's gonna be a very big financial news thing.
And I'm putting marriage, divorce, babies, or move. I'm going to put like those big words, those big significant changes down for epiphanies when you said like opportunity, growth, connection, even canals. It's kind of weird, some of those language spaces, I think. This is a lot of water or relationship kind of spaces. Pluto, man, this is the stuff. And those feelings, if you are kind of maybe being emotional lately, this is not going to be any, as we put in the chat, no stone left unturned on Saturday. Get ready, because that might be an even more significantly emotional day as things change or show their true colors. Things are going to shift. No surprise. We're gearing up. Eclipse time.
Mm-hmm.
We're in it. Navel deep, guys. So here we are. Now we're getting nipple deep. Sunday. Only one thing happens on Sunday. And that was the only thing happening on Saturday, but it was big enough. So Sunday, only one thing is happening. It's kind of a small thing. Matt often says these kinds of things can maybe just a small, but it is going to be that the moon moves into joining Venus in Aries. Ooh, so add more fire onto things. How do you feel about adding more Aries, moving from some of that water space to more fires?
Well, Aries, So this is funny because I feel like, and none of them are in the chat anymore. They haven't been in a while, but I used to get grief from certain folks over like the water signs, and the water signs always complain that I was hard on them, and I always feel like I'm harder on the fire signs. And I feel like air, which if you ever think that the signs that you are square to, which I'm happy to, we'll run out of. I mean, we're gonna have time, so if anyone on there doesn't know what signs they're square to, I can go ahead and tell you. Um, the one that I have the most square, which is kind of the one that you're most in opposition or have the most conflict with, is Aries. So I'd say, the one that the least personality wise is Aries. There's something also about your nodes, your north node and your south node. The one is more or less what you come in with a PhD in. The other one's kind of the area that you need to learn the most about. For mine is Aries. So just in general, I don't have a lot of Aries energy. So I'd say that I'm probably the most biased. Every sign's good, but the most biased against this one. That is a long way of saying all these things coming into Aries makes me nervous because I don't like quick, impulsive, not thinking things out, acting. I like to think things out before I act. This is very much ready, fire, aim type energy. This is just, I'm going to do it without really thinking about the consequences be damned kind of thing. So seeing a whole lot of signs moving into this energy just makes me think there's going to be a lot of things done, both on the personal micro level and then kind of on the macro level, kind of world stage, that just aren't well thought out and very reactive. And I feel like that's never a good thing.
Yeah, and you really said it. The world stage. Keep that in mind because I always think of Mel Gibson. He comes to mind with Aries energy, and I don't even know if he is an Aries, but him is like a Braveheart energy, or him flying off the handle in one of his moments or rants that like you're just not sure what is going to come out of his mouth, but it's definitely going to be passionate. And strangely, there's going to be like an entourage of people running behind him. And that moment of a bunch of people running violently down a hill, about whatever it is, that to me is like, oh man, look out, and
I just looked
Aries
it up.
energy.
But I'm shocked by this. Mel Gibson is a fellow Cap.
Really?
I would not have thought of that.
He's a thinker. I wonder if his moon is like a Aries or something. Man,
Actually, when I did the search, it said Astro Chart. I should look it up. Let me go back. We had somebody that used to be on here sometimes that would actually like pull them up and be like quoting to us like where they're all are while we're talking
I
about
know. I miss having our astrologer people pop in because, having people do all that work for us in the chat room is really helpful.
He has no Aries, nothing.
None? Mel
I'll do it
Gibson
really
has
quick. Sun, Cap, Moon, Libra, Mercury, Cap. Your Sun and Mercury are almost always the same. Venus, Aquarius, Mars in Scorpio, Jupiter in Virgo, Saturn in Scorpio, Uranus in Leo, Neptune in Scorpio, Pluto in Leo. His ascendant, which is how he portrays himself, how people see this person, which this really shocks me because I thought maybe that would be an Aries, is a Cancer. I wouldn't see that either. But then again, we only see the actor in like some interviews. It's like you're probably seeing like, at best 5% of the person. So
True. Man, I love doing that. We need to, as we do more and more shows throughout the year, we need to do one on some of our favorite people because I bet that would be surprising.
my usual dog disclaimer that I'm just going to say here: we've had cats that I've picked up from work, basically because I'm a softie for animals, and the cats have been in our house forever. And we have two dogs that whenever they see the one cat, they've acted like they've never seen the cat before, and we have an intruder in the house. That's what's going on in the background here. So I apologize for the noise. Yeah, I had to alert the whole house that, oh my God,
You and your
this animal that's been here for 2 years is here. And
who is that? It's a strange thing. So that's what we have for the weekend, guys. But Monday, and we're already at 9:30. I know, but it's going to be the day, the end of the world as we know it. The 3 days of darkness. The people throwing their goats over the mountaintop. What's going to happen?
The masses. We're traveling into the path of totality. So we'll see how much of a nightmare that's going to be.
Well, the very
We've
first
been
thing
told
before
be
we,
prepared to not have gas at gas stations, and
no
restrooms are
ice,
going to be like they're telling all kinds of horror stories.
no ice, nothing. There's going to be nothing. No, it'll be fine. But early in the morning, 3:10 in the morning, hopefully before many people are even awake on Monday, hopefully before I'm awake on Monday, the sun is going to be semi-sextile Jupiter. And this talks about Jupiter with its optimism and its happiness and its material growth and its all this stuff, but it being semi-sextile to the sun, which, you know, for us in a solar eclipse, we're going to be having things. A lot of people are all in a kerfuffle about the sun and the moon and where are they in the sky if they're not exactly opposite from each other to have the solar eclipse, then how can this be? How can that be? On the 8th, we're going to have a whole lot of stuff. The sun, the moon, Venus, Chiron, Mercury, all of it, it's in Aries. It's in the constellation Aries. And Jupiter is right next to it in Taurus. So, how do we feel about that vibe for Monday
Be careful
morning?
behind. I'm like getting like road rage vibes. Be careful when you're driving. Like it's just. Remember Aries, God of War. Just yeah, just come. That's the other. I would not be surprised if a. Ooh, I hope I'm wrong here. Possibly Middle East expands. You know, Iran's claiming they're going to do something. So yeah, Aries war. A lot of stuff in Aries on the day of an eclipse. Yeah,
Boom.
that's kind of where my guy. I really hope I'm wrong on this one. But that's where my vibe goes. Is there'll be some military conflict that blows up on Monday.
Yeah. And I would have to say that I agree with you on that space just because not only do we have things with NASA firing things up at the sky, saying, you know what, this is a great time with the totality to be able to see things, to be able to have a better course of action, that there's more ions and things in the atmosphere that help our rockets get the momentum they need. And, you know, different countries also saying the same things about their satellite placements and EMF bursts and all sorts of we need to use this time and space, but we're also going to have a comet streaking across the sky. We're going to have a lot of things happening this afternoon, next Monday. Not
There's some really interesting stuff. There's also the stuff around Taiwan, but then these don't get played up as much. But it's almost like the Russia Ukraine thing. China is renaming villages that India claims, saying that this is historically China.
yeah,
But then what's
Taiwan, you
also
can't speak of.
very, very interesting is there's provinces in Russia that China's doing this, and Russia's pretty dependent on China right now. They're doing the same thing that Russia did in Ukraine. They're not necessarily going to go in and take it, but they're saying, this province is historically China and like starting to issue maps with part of Russia now being part of China. And so it's just really interesting.
Yeah, it's real.
That's why, as a Western person, I haven't really worried about them all like working together because there's so many potential conflicts over there that give them time, they'll all be fighting with each other, and we can just kind of
And
do
in
our thing.
Africa. And
Yeah, yeah.
I mean all the places. So as we whisper these things, we do whisper them. This is all leading up to, and so I'll put it in the chat room. If you're in New York time, 2:20 in the afternoon, if you're right down the middle of the United States, the solar eclipse, dun, 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 and the constellation Cetus. The whole thing streaking across the sky on the 8th. So heavy. Almost all the planets are right over here. They're right over here in a little chunk. I mean, really, all of them. You've got Pluto, Mars, Saturn, Neptune, Venus, the Moon, Chiron, Mercury, the Sun, Jupiter, and Uranus, all right there. Bloomed. Really heavy in Aries. How do you feel about this particular solar eclipse and anything that we know about it, Matt?
To be honest, I haven't done enough with eclipses to really, I would say, comment over just gut feel on these things, so take it for what it is. But it's obviously a significant event, and I look at where everything's sitting, and so you got Sun and Moon in Aries on this. Again, as I already previously said, it's probably the sign that makes me the least comfortable because it's the least like my own personal style. So I just think impulsive, aggressive, not really thinking things out. It's the first sign of the cycle, so I always kind of view too. It's like teenage boy energy. You think of most teenage males can go back and think of like really dumb. I'm not calling Aries dumb, don't get me wrong, but really like not well thought out things they did. That wow, I'm lucky I'm still alive because that wasn't probably the best thing for me to do. So I just feel like impulsive, reactive, really getting that kind of militant vibe thing. I really think something's gonna pop off on around Monday. So I hope I'm wrong, but I really have that kind of think about it. Nobody thought October that attack that happened on October 7th. Nobody really thought that was coming. And then I remember going to breakfast with my I always take one of my kids to breakfast Saturday mornings, and there it is all over the news. And just think of how many significant things flowed from that. I'm thinking a similar type thing, whether it's an existing conflict that escalates or something brand new somewhere. I really think something's going to happen.
Well, I know that we often use these kind of predictions as just markers to keep aware, keep safe. Doesn't necessarily mean that, doom and gloom or negativity, but to know that these things happen in patterns and in waves. And oftentimes being prepared helps people feel less anxious and more safe. So being able to look out to the stars and go, the last time things were aligned this way, the last time things were like this, there are some certain ripples to, man, if you keep a diary, good for you. Facebook memories, thank you, that's helpful. If you can go back in your phone or digital markers to August 21st, 2017, was the last time I believe that we had a solar eclipse in this way, that it starts talking about the ripples of individual behavior and the things we should expect in our personal life. So whatever you maybe were going through at that time, that those doors are going to be reopened or closed in a way that that pattern is returning. So I can't remember exactly what was happening in 2017 politically, but I know that the stars aligned for history, as we often discuss, Matthew, do not look good for the next year.
I'm looking things up while we talk here to see if.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I do wish that I was able to drive to the totality space. For me, I think it's like a 7 or 8 hour drive to South Illinois is about the closest place I can get to. And it would be so crazy that uncertainty of, man, how much of an emergency are we talking? What do we think is going to happen? It's one of those like, geez, I just don't know if I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? I think it's important.
All right, interesting. So here's where I'm just scrolling through things in the news. So I did like the day at like the 22nd, so the day after, to see what happens and looking for any types of downstream. Trump unveiled the Afghanistan policy, which led to a lot of things that ended up happening in Afghanistan years and years and years later. So that's an interesting one. There was a minor terror attack in Spain. I guess it was just recent, just not long after that was the whole Charlottesville protest, the guys with the torches saying we won't be replaced, and then the person got run over. So that was a whole big thing in the news. Something about a naval boat collision. A judge ambushed and shot in Ohio.
Ohio, they just had some earthquakes happening. I kind of wonder about that.
I'm just scrolling through. These are just the news things that are popping up. Everything else here looks minor. Yeah, more of that Charlottesville thing must have been. I forgot. I just knew that was summer. I didn't know where that was. That was the. So I just quick scanned. I just did a search and it said the top 10 things you need to know on August 22nd. So there you go.
Hmm. There we go. The top things that we know are ripples and patterns. Okay, guys, we have about 10 minutes. It looks like that we could pull some cards for people. Maybe we pull a card, Matt, for the week or the solar eclipse.
Yeah.
Maybe just like to see what we get for the week ahead, the next 7 days, while people formulate whether or not they want a card pulled for them. Mary, Callie, Carson, John, Maddie, Tina, Ruth, all the people joining us. I've pulled my card for the week ahead. I like.
I'm just gonna say, not. And I'm not saying the same card. They're looking at with the card I have right now. If you have another card here, this will be really freaky.
What?
Do you have the moon?
No.
I got the sun. That would have been really. That would have been really
That would have been
freaky.
cool. I don't. It's the Eight of Wands with a
Okay.
bunch of witches riding on their broomsticks. And it kind of gives this like shadow. When I think of wands, I think of actions and behaviors and what you're doing. When I think of eight, I think of the balance of give and receive, yin and yang, patience and understanding, that you get what you give. So to be very careful of that energy for which the behaviors you engage in and give back to. If someone's being mean or hateful, don't engage in that. Wait until you get the behavior you want to see. And I see some of these witches are drawn in and some of them are vacant. So knowing that purpose. But Matt, when you think of the next 7 days, what do you think with your card?
So sun, this I actually think is a good card to get. So, moon is I feel like hidden. Things are not what they seem. Sun is clarity.
Ah,
So I think what we will see this week will be very clear. What you see, it's one of those things like, people mean what they say what they mean. It's that kind of thing. There's not going to be, I don't think you have to read a whole lot into what happens this week. I think what's going to happen is going to be pretty obvious and pretty clear. So
mm,
don't fall for, weird theories or anything like that. I think it's going to be really, sometimes a duck is just a duck. And I think that's what you're going to see.
man, I'm excited to see what unfolds for some people individually, but also for us as a group and community. I think that solar eclipse is such a universal time for people to feel united in some way. I know there's a lot of religious themes. I know there's a lot of apocalyptic themes, government themes, political themes, wherever you fall, wherever you are in that space. There's at least maybe a sense of connection and community, maybe, hopefully. I don't know. Um, okay, Mary or Carson, or if anybody wants a card, let us know. I know that we did have I think it was Savannah or Hannah. I'm going to have to double check on that chat and go back, but I know there was an NNAH on it. So it was either Savannah or Hannah. If you're still there in the chat, let me know um, that wanted a reading. And you guys don't forget, Matt and I do, we like to do readings together if we can. But if you're interested in getting a birth chart reading or you have something that you want to touch base with, Matt or I, please let us know and we'll try and help you in that. Um, Man, Mary says, I am good, but thank you. Mary usually gets cards, and people that join us every week, I know that we often will kind of pull cards over and over. And sometimes it's just having that opportunity to see what you get. Maybe you get the same card. Callie always gets the same card over and over. I always get the same card over and over. Matt, do you ever get the same card over and over?
Yeah, you pull the same card for me a lot. Whenever you're pulling cards for me, you always get the hangman for me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I know that for me, in this upcoming week, I've got like surgery stuff, doctor stuff. I know that my dad has got some stuff. And so when I pull a card for me, I'm a little nervous this week ahead with all of the things, back to school after spring break. Just moved, so change of address, waiting for all of the stuff in the mail to find me, and like just those little changes in life where it makes a Virgo feel uncertain. Getting back to a routine is really important.
Hey, I got one for
Nashova,
you. I got one for you before we do Neshovas.
yeah, pull one for me, Matt.
We're gonna do this differently. I pulled three to see what the message is this week, and they're very
Oh,
interesting. But I'm curious as to how you would interpret it. This is an interesting set of cards. I
okay,
got Queen of Swords,
okay. Lagatha, the fight.
Queen of Cups,
Oh shoot.
and I
Okay,
was like,
which
man, if I
one?
get another Queen, but I didn't get another Queen, I got the Devil.
Ooh, influences of the female, the receptive, the emotions, but also like what you're saying. Like, be careful that you don't say something that is going to disconnect or burn a bridge or screw something up because you can't. Do you know what I mean? Um, do you know what I mean? That you're
Mm-hmm.
not going
And
to
it's the two opposites. Like
influence.
sword and cups are like opposite of each other. So it's like the female energy on opposite ends, and then the devil. I found that interesting. No, no, so we'll definitely get to yours. I just wanted to quick get into this first.
Yeah. Nashova. Gosh, I love that name too. Here we go. Boom.
Hang on. I do mine a little different. So okay. Ooh, I always hate getting this card for people.
Oh, okay. What card is
Go ahead,
it?
do yours.
I
I'm
have the
hoping yours is
ace.
nicer.
Yeah, I have the Ace of Wands. So the beginning, the spark. It's the beginning, the spark of something you're doing. Maybe a promotion, maybe a career change, maybe something like a renovation on a home. But this is a behavior, an action, and you're just in the beginnings, like 1% of getting that project finished. But it's, I always think of the ace as a very action potential, very full of and going to finish. So I think of it as a very optimistic card towards whatever it was that you just started, that it's going to be ending well. Matthew, what do you have?
There's three cards I hate getting for people, and this is one of them.
Oh,
Three of Swords, the heartbreak card.
hmm.
So I
I
don't know what
wonder.
your question was, but based on the card I pulled, you probably aren't going to like the answer.
Oh, there could be heartbreak
With
involved.
yours, it's something new. Like I always think Ace of Swords is always new and it's in the sword space. So it's idea or information. So I'm getting this as receiving information that's going to be kind of heartbreaking.
Getting a residency, but you can no longer live in Florida. Now you got to live here and you're moving away from your new boyfriend or something like, oh, um, the beginning of a great action, but something that has some heartache. Woo! Going to be interesting. Macy, hello. Good to see you. We always love it when you pop in and support this show, Macy. She's one of our favorites. No offense to anyone else, of course, but seeing friends and family friends is always good. I know that I've got a few of you out there waiting on stuff for me that I am sending out. You should have them in the mail. For those of you who reached out and had me go witchy thrift store shopping for you, or had me send you a personal deck with a few extra little gifts in there. Usually I like to shop very specifically for a deck if I don't have one on hand, especially like colors or things, themes, different art. And I feel like some of the tarot decks I also get from local artists if I can. In Minnesota, sometimes it's harder to find than others. But yeah, I'm excited to see how people feel about their items as they get stuff in the mail. And I do hope that for people still looking to get a birth chart reading, you'll reach out to Matthew. I'm going to put in the chat how you can do that. And then, you guys, as we finish up the show here, is there anyone else who would like a reading? Please let us know. We need your permission. We're not just gonna telepathically pull your name out of the chat. I feel like sometimes that's a little inappropriate. We want to be able to give and receive consent. But mslosier at yahoo.com or the paranormal Sarah at gmail.com, guys, is how to get a hold of us, or however it is that you are watching live right now. It could be on YouTube, could be on Odyssey Radio, it could be on Facebook, it could be on Twitter, it could be on LinkedIn, it could be on so many different streams. Wherever and however you are listening in, go and message us. Go message the host directly, and we will do our best to reach out to you and touch base, guys. Is there anything that I'm missing, Matt, or do we have any remaining
Uh,
readings that you've got or questions?
no, I don't see anything in the chat. I think we're good. We're getting done a little early, but
Hey,
that's not a bad thing.
it's not a bad thing. And I know for those of us getting caught up on stuff, maybe getting caught up on sleep, these solar flares, the Schumann resonance, that hum of the earth, it's been spiking a lot. We've been having a lot of magnetic storms, solar flares, fatigue. It makes you feel tired. It gives you a headache. Some people get a lot of nausea. They get vertigo. They feel dizzy. They just feel out of whack. So if you've noticed yourself just kind of laying down, feeling heavier, feeling tired, and just feeling like, man, where is my energy at? Spray yourself. I always get magnesium powder, put it on my feet. I always make sure and drink extra water, but also don't be so hard on yourself. You're probably just extra connected to Mother Earth and feeling some of that spring wake up. And the solar eclipse coming around on Monday is not going to help, you guys. It's going to be a little exhausting. So prepare for it. And don't look directly at it with your eyes. Go get the gas station sunglasses, guys. Don't be silly. Don't do what Trump did a few years back and stared right at it, the poor man. It's one of my favorite things. Yeah, be smart. And if you do have any cool pictures, stories, or things happening, predictions that come true, send us all your stuff, and we'll share it next Tuesday on the show.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thank you,
guys.
everybody. Have a great night.
See you later.